everyone. Today we are going to talk about what is operational system and data warehouse, why do we need them, and what advantages and disadvantages they have, and what makes them different from each other. So let's start with the operational systems. The companies runs multiple operational systems, accounting, sales, project management, CRM, which process and stores thousands, even millions of transactions every day. We mainly refer these systems as online transactional processing systems. For example, each purchase you may do with your credit card or withdraw money from an ATM or each click in a website would be stored as a new transaction in the database. While these databases have traditionally been relational, such as SQL Server, Oracle, or DB2, in recent times, non-relational databases, Cassandra, MongoDB, or file systems like Hadoop have been adopted as an alternative for storing raw data. So, main purpose of transactional systems is to store day-to-day business transactions and minimize the locking. Simply defined, fast data insert and update is the main focus for OLTP systems. It is not the place for complex queries or reporting data. It is well suited for querying specific records or creating simple queries in order to avoid to put additional burden to source system and prevent parallel processing. And the other challenge we may have encountered is very often, OLTP systems are separately owned by different departments or even outsourced, and each of them are designed to perform different operational tasks and usually do not share or exchange data. And sooner or later, it becomes somebody's job to manually query operational systems and consolidate the data into spreadsheet reports. But consolidating data is not the easiest task when we consider that different departments have the same terminologies, mean many different things to different parts of the business. For example, whereas individual contact would be considered as customer for finance department, for marketing it will be different, even the organizations will be under the same term. Once it becomes clear that this approach, manual consolidating, is vulnerable to hands-on mistakes, and also do not auditable and cause discrepancy in different systems, companies started to look for an enterprise solution that provides single point of truth in a historical way, which brings us to data warehouse solutions. A data warehouse, also commonly known as an online analytical processing system, is a repository of data is extracted from one or more operational source systems, transformed into a suitable format and loaded into the data warehouse to enable data analysis and reporting for decision making. This storage is structured such that users from many divisions or departments within an organization can access and analyze the data according to their needs. When we look at the middle layer, extract, transform, and load, whatever the technology, tooling, or method behind it, ETL refers to an integration process that moves data around, potentially altering its format or content. The methodology transforms source data to fit data model, which you describe for a data warehouse. And why do we need a data warehouse? The structure of a data warehouse is more accessible for end users to navigate, understand, and query. Since these people are not technical, the data may be presented to them in an elementary form. It also helps them to understand business trends and make better strategic decisions. As we discussed earlier, whereas the operational systems focuses on more transaction level questions, such as if this particular customer has paid their bill or whether this particular car has bought on that particular day, data warehouses are more interested in trends, strategy, and performance. For example, what is the revenue rate of company in compared to last year? Which products are on the market demand? And what is penetration rate or churn ratio? So these are all critical questions that each business needs to identify. But we also need historical analysis and reporting, so data warehouses usually store many months or years of data and provides historical reporting platform. And the other challenge is data integrity. When multiple people ask the same questions using the same data get varying answers, it creates doubt in all of the data in your organization. So data warehouse is targeting to bring the data from different sources at a common place in order to ensure that everyone in an organization bases business decisions on the same data. And it also increases data consistency and quality. Adding data sources to a data warehouse enables organizations to ensure that they're collecting consistent and relevant data from that source. They don't need to wonder whether the data will be accessible or inconsistent as it comes into the system. It also helps end users to get faster decisions. When data in a warehouse in a such consistent format that is ready to be analyzed, decision makers are no longer need to be challenged with incomplete or poor quality data and risk delivering slow and inaccurate results. So you see that all these points are giving us an overall idea about why do we need data warehouse in our data consumption platform. And how is data warehouse architecture? So, well, let's go through this diagram and we are going to a little bit deep dive into different layers of data warehouse. Start on the left side, we have source layer where original data stand based on a different internal and external operational systems such as ERP, CRM, sales, marketing, and so on. The data source can be any format of text file, relational databases, or any other types of databases. So subsequently, we have extract, transform, and load process, shortly ETL, which extract data from various sources, bring them into staging area, and apply a sequence of processes to prepare the data and load into the data warehouse. The essential steps of ETL processes are: it gets the data from the source location, validate and clean it, and apply transformation rules that are required before the data sets are loaded into repository, and finally map the data from staging area to its target and load the data into the warehouse. But what is the role of staging area in here? So staging area is an intermediate storage area used for data processing during the extract, transform, and load operations. It resides between the data sources and data targets, which are often data warehouses, data marts, or data repositories. We basically need staging area to hold the data in a temporary tables to perform data cleansing and merging before loading the data into warehouse. In a classical design of database, the staging area consists of one-to-one copies of tables from the source systems. The reason behind is we don't want to disturb operational systems that are already functioning. Therefore, we copy the relevant information and put it into the staging area. When the data is temporarily stored in the staging area, it will be cleaned, transformed by ETL operations. So let's make a simple example. Source data comes in many different formats, and there is a need to validate or ensure if the format transformed to expected structure before we load into the data warehouse. For example, in one system, name of customers, including first name and last name, might be stored all in one column. And in other source, we will have name, surname, title in all separate fields. Or currency information will be pound in one system and might be dollar in other. So we need to transform these different formats into a single structure through the integration layer in order to have a standard format and single point of truth in data warehouse. And after these processes are complete, the processed data is transferred to the relevant target database in order to be used accordingly. And the next layer is storage layer. After data is cleansed, transformed, and prepared with a definite structure, it will be stored in the data warehouse as well as data marts, depends on the approach of the architecture. But in which cases do we need a data mart, or what is the differences from a data warehouse? When data warehouses holds and integrates data from across an organization, a data mart is a smaller subset of data specialized for the use of a given department or division. Often data marts are built and controlled by a single department or business unit like finance, marketing, or sales. And data marts typically hold just one subject area more focused and may contain summaries of data. Because they are smaller and more specific, they're often easier to manage and maintain, as well as having more flexible structures. Depends on requirements, we may have data marts which are subsets of data warehouses. By this way, people don't mess with each other's data, and in this case, sales manager is not going to be interested in what the finance director is interested. So that keeps their queries separate. It makes it simpler when there are fewer options for each decision maker to look and therefore less chance of them getting lost. The other big advantage is that one of them comes up with a problem or a question, we are going to solve this problem on a smaller set of data. So it is going to be quicker and easier to handle. So I hope that all give you a general idea about the data mart. So the last one is the presentation layer. The presentation layer is where users interact with the clean and organized data. Queries and reporting tools are occurred on this layer and used by business users to gather several kinds of information. So right now we have an overall understanding about OLTP systems and data warehouses, but before ending, I just want to have a short recap to summarize what were the basic differences between them. Performance of OLTP systems are counted by fast insert and update. But for the data warehouses, retrieving the data quickly is the main objective. Locking must be minimized in the OLTP system, but for data warehouses, it is not an issue. And in OLTP system, we are able to answer some simple questions with small sets of data, like what is the invoice number of a specific customer or organization, but data warehouses are focused on large sets of data with complicated queries that shows trends, strategy, performance. Whereas the OLTP system are based on normalized data models, data warehouses built on the denormalized data structure. And data warehouses is a historical data storage layer, which is one of the most significant prerequisites for an each reporting platform. And user profiles of them are C-level employees or analysts or report owners. And on the other hand, OLTP systems are queried by clerk, cashiers, or employees which need to check a specific record or transaction. So I hope that gives you a general idea about what is OLTP system and data warehouses, what are the differences between them. So thank you for listening.